That's right back, Charlie. Definitely.
People deluded, I'm back again.
Come on, Ian, man. Come on.
There's always just that active red line defending. I think it's like.
People deluded, I'm back again. As usual, appreciative to have you lot tuned in. Don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe. Get the creative juices flowing and make sure you leave a comment at the end of the video. As usual, appreciative to you lot tuned in. We know Arsenal versus West Ham is a case where Sunday's concerned. We're still riding the wave of defeating Liverpool in an isolated incident. It's fantastic. I've even seen Curtis Jones, you know, Liverpool. Now that I've found out Liverpool have invented celebrations and fist pumps and things. It's all in jest. It's all banter. It is what it is. Had Arsenal got smoked against Liverpool, everybody would have had something to say. At least for now, we live to fight another day. And Arsenal will drop points, much like everybody else. I'm very pessimistic as to whether Arsenal win the league title, but I'd love to be proven wrong. Let me know your thoughts on what I've just said in the opening exchange of this video. Again, let's see what's concerning Arsenal in the latest tabloids and news and views. We all know January was disappointed, and the summer is going to be the best thing ever. Now, I believe John Cross of the Mirror has made an article, and he has said Mikel Arteta eyes Arsenal summer shake-up involving 4 transfer targets and 3 big exits. Arsenal could be ready for a shake-up this summer with Thomas Partey, Emil Smith-Rowe and Eddie Nketiah, all possible big-name departures, while Arteta wants big signings too. Now, you'd imagine if a striker comes in, that could mean Eddie Nketiah could be loaned out, putting himself in the shop window and actually getting more money the following season after he went on loan, or he would probably be sold to bring in money. Emil Smith-Rowe, again, it looks like we've somewhat turned the corner with him getting a start against Nottingham Forest, but again, speculation over him, Ramsdale, Thomas Partey, Jorginho, and several other players. Some are more likely to leave than others. Apparently, Arsenal scouts have been making checks on Atletico Bilbao winger Nico Williams. I mean, I'm all on another winger. You know, I know Martinelli and Saka have got their form again and whatnot, but when we was in a bit of negative form, it would have been nice to pull one, a bit like what we did with Trossard, with Martinelli. Trossard got starts, Martinelli come off the bench against Crystal Palace, and he's back to his best. And obviously, we run Saka into the ground. It would be lovely to have another wide man that obviously could get goals and assists, realistically challenge Martinelli and Saka in terms of starting, and ultimately give us more in terms of scoring goals and ease the burden. You know, I wouldn't say Mikel Arteta doesn't trust every squad member or they wouldn't be here, but I mean, you look at the minutes, you know, Reece Nelson, he's only going to play if, you know, if it's one of those crazy Bournemouth kind of games, or it's just the minutes where the games are kind of done, or in the cup games, which we're not in. Eddie Nketiah has proven at times to be our first choice striker, but you would imagine Kai Havertz, you know, the luxury of maybe even Trossard through the middle, Gabriel Jesus, obviously, and potentially another striker means minutes are limited. And why I say that is, you know, it would be nice if Mikel Arteta had some players that are he's more likely to draw upon if form dictates such, or come off the bench, because you just look at the minutes. Obviously, he's made a couple of appearances since then, but at a point until a few weeks ago, Reece Nelson only played 87 Premier League minutes. Now, obviously, it's a tough task dislodging Saka for first 10 minutes, but that tells you everything. If it's not Saka, Martinelli or Trossard, maybe even the luxury of Jesus going out wide, if we bring in a striker, then it's a myth. And also, I will think Arsenal need a winger and a striker as well as midfielders, you lot know. But could there be a reality where Arsenal sign these Ossimans, these Ivan Toneys, or you know, a marquee kind of striker, and they say, you know what, Jesus can play out wide, we don't need another striker, and maybe, you know, put resources into elsewhere. Nico Williams has been linked with us before. Being linked with a winger is quite easy where Arsenal are concerned, because that is an area among others that Arsenal could improve in. The Gunners have got a winger on their transfer hit list this summer as they look to strengthen their squad again. They've also been long-term admirers of Wolves winger Pedro Neto, who has already proven in the Premier League. The only thing you can say about Pedro Neto is injuries. He's shown he can play on the left, on the right as a false nine. Gary O'Neill is doing great things for all his players at Wolves. Pedro Neto's a player that I've done a video on in his days at Lazio/Braga. He's been historically linked with Arsenal. Where you look at our failed pursuits of Pedro Neto, Rafinha, and Mudryk, clearly Mikel Arteta is eyeing a winger, dare I say explosive winger, because obviously Trossard is quick and stuff, but he's more of a technical, acute kind of winger, really, if that makes sense. Really, then there's not really throwback wingers, but I would say the names I said are probably more traditional people. So I'm not, obviously, I'm happy with Trossard, and regardless, he needs to be in the squad. But I'm just saying, I think that is something Arteta may be earmarking and things. So, yeah, we've been linked with Pedro Neto. Obviously, George Mendes, you'd imagine Pedro Neto. You could make a case of him going to Man United, potentially Liverpool, Arsenal. He's been linked with Manchester City, and there's obviously going to be clubs abroad interested in him. There's a bit of a Portuguese revolution of sorts going on at Barcelona. So could you even rule out Pedro Neto going over there? But I'd love to see him sign for the club. Where Williams is concerned and involved people, as you know, the 21-year-old recently last year signed a new deal at Bilbao. Real Madrid, Aston Villa, and Liverpool have all been scouting him as well. Scouting doesn't mean you're going to move for him, but yeah. Arsenal could be ready for a shake-up this summer with Thomas Partey, Emile Smith-Rowe, and Eddie Nketiah, all possible big-name departures. They have looked at Brentford striker Ivan Toney, who could be sold this summer. Apologies, people. I should have my phone on. That's actually Fabrizio Romano. See, I'm always making sure content's there for you. Should have it on silent. But as I was saying, we've been linked with Ivan Toney. He could be sold this summer. Thomas Frank in recent days more or less said that. Apparently, Mikel Arteta also rates Martin Zubimendi. So this is something that was there in January. These are some topics that were covered in the summer. We haven't learned anything new here. Apparently, Zubimendi is highly regarded as a technical player, but the fear has always been whether he leaves Spain for the Premier League. Been linked with Bayern Munich, Arsenal. We'll get onto it, but apparently even Liverpool and a bunch of other clubs, people. Bayern Munich, if I haven't said that. Arsenal would ideally like another round of squad strengthening, but as with last summer, they're really trying to bite the top end and add real quality. We all know Declan Rice, Timber, and Havertz were introduced, and we've spoken about Gabriel Jesus' ability to play out wide. Now, I only mentioned this article, people, where Joshua Zirkzee is concerned, is because we was linked with him in January for a potential summer move. He's a striker that has been linked with Arsenal, and again, it's a bit of a domino effect. Osimhen is likely to leave Napoli in the summer. Obviously, the Italian giants need to find a replacement, and Joshua Zirkzee plays for Bologna in the same league. Now, this hasn't necessarily linked Arsenal with a move for Joshua, but interestingly, people, it says Victor Osimhen currently is likely to depart for PSG. Now, the Napoli president has said he will join a big European team or a big Premier League team, historically linked with Arsenal and Chelsea. Obviously, every now and again linked with Madrid. Not sure they'll move for him. PSG are probably going to have to cope with the departure of Kylian Mbappe. So that could be something, in terms of a marquee attacker that they bring in. I'm sure he would welcome a move to PSG. They're a big club. They're trying to do ambitious things. Obviously, trying to win the champs. He's played in Liga before. So France is a country. Obviously, there's many towns, but is a country he's played and stayed in and lived relatively well. So could there be another twist where Victor Osimhen's concerned? As you can see here, he's currently likely to depart for PSG. Not quite sure if that's true, but nonetheless, that has been said. Apparently, PSG are monitoring Gabby Martinelli, says Ikram Konur. Now, I expect that, I imagine a lot of teams in Europe are looking at Martinelli and Saka if they ever became available. If you've got 100+ million, we can talk, but Martinelli stays, people. But nonetheless, moving on, Juventus and Arsenal, as well as Man United, as a compete for Thuram from Nice, people. We need to sign a midfielder. I like him. I thought he would move in the summer. I think he's picked up a couple of injuries, but the 22-year-old is a very good midfielder. And obviously, him being French and Arsenal's historical French ties, it makes sense, people. So we'll have to see exactly what's being said there, people. Juventus are interested in him as well. His brother plays in Italy, so maybe living in the same country, potentially playing with your brother, against your brother, better yet, as well as playing with him for club and country is lit. Apparently, a transfer battle is set to be on the cards as Premier League clubs like Manchester United and Arsenal have also registered their interest in the player. Make of that what you will. Arsenal, given Thomas Partey injury boost, has Ghana midfielder set for short spell out. I mean, fundamentally, he's out, people. He's only played 15 minutes since August. That's crazy, allegedly. We've heard Mikel Arteta say that with Thomas, unfortunately, we had a setback a few days ago. We'll see if it's a matter of days or weeks, but he had a little thing. I'm not a doctor, but he felt something in a very similar area, and he wasn't able to train the last few days. Apparently, this article with Football London has said It's thought that this latest setback will not be a serious one for Partey, whose last start in Arsenal shirt came in August. He is unlikely to be available for Sunday's trip to West Ham, but there is hope he can be back sooner rather than later. I mean, he lost the ball for, I can't even remember who scored, but when we bottled the 2-goal lead last season where Declan Rice picked his pocket, so maybe it's a good thing Partey isn't there. But on a serious note, we need our players fit. Thomas Partey and Timber, as well as Tommy Asu in particular, they give our squad a big boost, but if you're not available, it is what it is. Where Thomas Partey's been concerned, you say the name Thomas Partey, you think of the word injuries. That's been the case with Arsenal. A lovely player, to have him and Declan Rice with Odegaard right now would be great. Big up Jorginho and Kai Havertz, but there's levels. Obviously, his abilities to break the line, his ball recovery, physical presence, and he's just a bloody good footballer. Occasionally doesn't score many, but when he does, it seems to be a super strike. But all of that is irrelevant if you're not available and available for prolonged periods, really. And where Mikel Arteta is concerned, this is what I mean, where I think there's a lot of excuses Arteta should be cut, but where you look at when he comes out with, we've got the finished squad, etc. We've seen this movie around a couple of players at Arsenal for a few years. So where do you stand on that? But, the quicker Thomas Partey is back, the better. Man United have been linked with an experienced striker. Ten Hag apparently wanted one. Apparently they won't join the fight with Arsenal and Chelsea to potentially sign Ivan Toney. People, as you know, Thomas Frank has more or less said he's available. Who knows what the price tag for Toney will be, but you'd imagine speculation over his future won't go away. Romano did say yesterday Fluminense have agreed on a loan deal to sign Marquinhos from Arsenal. There's a verbal pack in place to be completed in the coming days. Allegedly, our winger has accepted already, and the deal is to include a buy clause. So as long as we make a profit, this signing did not work out. Maybe returning to his homeland is something that could benefit him. Potentially left too early, and it's been from an ability point of view, didn't pull up any trees at Nantes, didn't pull any trees up at Norwich, but I wonder off the field how much he's been allowed to settle, because you had what would have been, and I said it at the time, 6 months adaptation period at the point of signing. And then in the January, which he did, you'd go out on loan. But, you've gone from Brazil to living in London as a young man. Obviously at Arsenal, Edu's, obviously it doesn't matter where you're from. Welfare is a thing, but you've got Edu, who's Brazilian. You've got Jorginho, I know he plays for Italy, but Brazilian, and a lot of Portuguese speakers in and around the team. And then, you've been farmed off to Norwich, to Norwich on loan. Then you've gone to France. Has that affected him really? I mean, we all saw the highlights when he signed for our club. There was something dodgy about this guy signing. I don't know who scouted him, but if we can turn that 3 million into a little profit, we bite our bullet and we keep it moving, people. We've already gone over Thuram, people being linked with the football club. What else have we got? We have previously been linked with Kylian Mbappe. Allegedly, his entourage has offered him to Arsenal and Liverpool, but neither want to break their wage structure to sign him, which we've been already knowing. Thomas Frank has already spoken potentially on Ivan Toney leaving. Now, I've covered this in a couple of videos, but if you have not been aware of such, Thomas Frank has said it's quite obvious that Ivan Toney will most likely be sold in the summer. It can be very expensive to sell your best player, but on the other hand, I also know that by summer, he'll only have a year left on his contract with us. We also know what he's worth. I don't think there are many strikers in the world who are better than him right now. He's a really good striker who is in his prime footballing age. Personally, as a coach, I'd prefer to keep Toney, but one day it could be fun to see him at a top team. This winter, we actually had no bids for him, but it would surprise me if there aren't a lot of clubs interested in him. So yeah, make of that what you will. We have been linked with Besiktas's Semi Kelosoy. I can't say his name, but he's able to play in a couple of positions. The 18-year-old has 8 goals and 1 assist in 19 appearances to his name. Considering his age profile, I'd imagine Arsenal and a couple of clubs are looking at him, and apparently Arsenal are interested and impressed by his versatility, as the ability to play on the left or the right wing, as well as playing up front, people. And he does like to shoot from range, and I do think he's quite positive in all his actions. Liverpool apparently have thrown their hat into the ring where Zubimendi is concerned. Liverpool are ready to challenge title rivals Arsenal for the signature of Martin Zubimendi. I mean, Liverpool's a massive club. They've won the big trophies of recent years, and whatnot. The only thing I would say is that while Liverpool have gone into the area Arsenal would want to go, Klopp's leaving. There's several backroom staffs going on. Liverpool would attract you. I'm sure if he speaks to Xabi Alonso, who's from the same region as him, it's a massive club. But you don't know how that club, I'm not saying this to not sign him, but you don't know what direction they're going to go in and stuff. Arsenal, it seems like clearly we're more ahead in our process. There's a lot more stability. Obviously, Arteta's from the same region, and allegedly we've been interested a lot longer than them. If Barcelona and Bayern Munich and these clubs are interested, that can obviously turn your head. But I think there's reasons to want to sign for Liverpool and Arsenal, so I think it'd be a fair fight. Apparently, Liverpool are prepared to pay his release clause, which equates to £51 million or 60 million euros. You know, both of these teams were linked with Andre or Fluminense as well as Fulham, and he ain't left. So what's speculated in the media and what is actually going on in the realms of football are two different things. We all know Arsenal are long-term admirers of the 25-year-old and are also thought to be plotting an offer in the summer. The Liverpool interest comes in mid-speculation. The club still need a top-class player at the base of their midfield, which they are missing a six. And obviously, Thiago's injured again, people. If he did idealise Xabi Alonso, then Liverpool's got to be of extreme interest to him. Now, as much as I want Zubimendi, if you can't get him, get someone else. Now, the dream is free. The hustle is sold separately. I'm sure if you're on Twitter, you saw, you know, Frenkie de Jong's contract's been leaked and apparently he's open to leaving. I think he goes to City or Manchester United if he does depart. I think Paris Saint-Germain need to collect key players like Infinity Stones if Mbappe leaves. And while he doesn't play in the same position as Mbappe, that should be someone. And I think Barcelona would be crazy to let him go. But as you know, Barcelona, by their own admission, are quite broke. They probably need to sell big ticket items. So you'd imagine Rafinha, De Jong, and a couple of players are speculated. Apparently, De Jong does not rule out leaving Barcelona this summer. Man United are interested in him. And were Man United not close to initially signing him at one point, people? I expect Arsenal to be linked with Rafinha again, because apparently all paths indicate Rafinha could be one of the chosen ones to leave, probably in line with making finances, people. Apparently, De Jong is frustrated with the expectation he set upon his arrival at Barca, such as winning trophies such as the Champions League and having a competitive team. He's very disappointed with the club. I don't know if Arsenal are the strongest bet to want to win the Champions League, but, you know, if City, I think he'd be perfect under Pep Guardiola. And I think Barcelona, in terms of footballing ability, wouldn't want to let him go, but he can make money. And I mean, if there's some pounds going at the Emirates and we can sell some players and do some things, I mean, that would be a welcome addition at the Emirates. Could you imagine De Jong? I mean, I love Zubimendi, but imagine De Jong. You know, imagine De Jong, Declan Rice, Odegaard, maybe even hanging on to Partey/Jorginho for another year, as well as the Smith Rowe's, the Havertz, the Fabio Vieiras, assuming no one leaves, who can all play in that role. We're kind of sorted in midfield. Edu and Mikel Arteta, you were midfielders, so I want to see this addressed. Very pessimistic on us signing De Jong, but again, the dream is free, the hustle is sold separately. And he did once upon a time say he thought his career would turn out in that he makes his career in Holland, he goes to Arsenal and then Barcelona. So remember how beautiful this football club was. But yeah, let me know your thoughts on Thuram, on Nico Williams, on Zubimendi, on Pedro Neto, on the dream of signing De Jong, you know, and all of those sort of things and everything else we've discussed. You know, where do you think Osimhen goes? What do you make of potentially signing Ivan Toney? Don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe. And appreciative of having you lot tuned in for this video. Your support is always welcome. In terms of other content, you know, on Sunday we're doing a watch along for West Ham against Arsenal. We will be watching the AFCON final together on Sunday as well. So make sure you're turning on your notification bells, because there's always content. Check out the previous vids. I'm sure there's been some links and hyperlinks floating throughout this video. Help the YouTube channel grow, people. Again, smashing the like button, commenting, subscribing. This boosts the algorithm and helps us along our journey, DG Nation, of getting 70k subs. But yeah, man, hope you lot enjoyed the vid. Hope you and your loved ones are in great health. Wishing you lot all the best. We'll link up again soon. But for now, peace.
There's always just that active red line, defending.
I think it's like